It's spring training time ahead of year 3 of our Oakland Athletics franchise here on MLB The Show 23. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the channel for spring training. And what I wanted to do with this spring training wasn't, play full games or anything of that manner. I just wanted to highlight the acquisitions we made in the offseason, with Gleyber Torres, Franmil Reyes, Herman Marquez, as well as top prospects that got the spring training invite, specifically Tyler Soderstrom and Boyce McDermott. I know a few more prospects did get the invite. I just feel like those were the two prospects that really had a chance. If they showed out in spring training, I was going to let them be on the opening day roster. I didn't really feel like there was much of a chance for anyone else to do so. So let's get into the first at-bats of professional baseball for Boyce McDermott. Showed out in rookie ball over the offseason, got the spring training invites, and in his first at-bat, crushes one deep to center field. No doubt, home run. I mean, talk about first impressions to make if you are trying to make the squad. Can't get much better than a solo shot in your first ever trip to the plates later on in this game. This one won't end up being a hit. Not all of these clips that I showed are going to be, awesome highlights, as I did just get a couple of player lock games, two to four, somewhere in there, of all these players. And so more clips than highlights due to that. But I think Boyce McDermott was quite impressive, was able to get on base, and of course showed his power as well. But obviously not just about what you show when we hop into the games. You got to show up in simulation as well. And of course, the big question about him, we kind of already knew he was going to be an MLB ready hitter, but how is he going to be in the field? Has excellent speed, with the coaching boosts, he's going to be up to 96, and that speed shows there. Can he be a good enough fielder to, be in the MLB soon? And in terms of impressing in spring training, yeah, 974 OPS with a 333 average. He proved to me that he is ready to be an MLB level hitter. So, I said if he shows out in spring training, I'd give him the invite, and I think it's safe to say he did just that. Tyler Soderstrom, the other big-time prospect that, if he's not ready now, he is close, and so I wanted to highlight him. I felt he also showed good power hitting capabilities. These player lock games weren't him playing catcher, just because I didn't want to player lock any catcher, because I felt like I would mess it up. I've never player locked a catcher before. So we had him playing his secondary position, or at least one of them, at first base for these player lock games. Of course, first base, maybe not the most pressing, defensive position, but he's able to take advantage of a hanging curve ball there, and showed some power, showed some discipline, able to draw some walks in the games that we played as well. So I was really impressed with both of our, big time MLB close prospects. Felt like they both showed me what I wanted to see for the most part, for them to be MLB ready. And Tyler Soderstrom actually had a higher OPS than even Boyce McDermott, the two best OPSs in spring training on the entire roster. So, I said if they showed out in spring training, I'd give them the opening day, put them on the opening day roster. And I think it's hard to argue that they did. Now, I certainly didn't imagine that both of them would play so well. I thought maybe Boyce McDermott, but Tyler Soderstrom was probably the biggest pleasant surprise of spring training. But moving on from prospects to big offseason acquisitions, the best overall player we got in the offseason was Gleyber Torres, and I really like his ability to affect the game both offensively and defensively. crushing Brandon Pfaadt here for the no doubt home run. He's somebody that does hit lefties quite a bit better than he hits righties. And, you know, you obviously prefer somebody that can hit any handedness in a pitcher, but I think we got some player lock games against righties, but they were mostly against lefties because I wanted to get some highlights, of course, because there's no doubt he was making the MLB roster. I wasn't trying to, you know, prove anything. I was just looking for highlights. But I think he could certainly be a core piece to help us push towards playoff contention. I don't think we're kind of a playoff level team this year by any means, but I want to at least get away from being, you know, bottom feeder. I don't want to pick top 5 next year, or at least be top 5 in the lottery. I don't know where we pick this year, of course. We'll have to wait until the regular season begins to know that, but I want to at least be, you know, have reason to play games in September and still care about the season come September, because we at least have, you know, an outside shot. At least creep towards 500, and I think Gleyber Torres could be a key piece in making that happen, just because he is somebody that can make a two-way impact. I feel like a lot of our additions, specifically draft picks, have been pretty offensively focused players, so getting somebody that I think can play an impact in the field is nice. He ends the spring training on a cold streak, so his overall numbers don't look great at all. But for the first half of spring training or so, he was quite good. Brent Reyes is another one of those, you know, offensively focused players. Not much of an impact on the field, but should Boyce McDermott make the opening day roster? And like I said, he was probably either the most or the second most impressive hitter in all of spring training, so he probably will. This is a guy that's probably going to end up being our DH, even though he is maybe a little bit better in the field than McDermott at this point. I just would rather have McDermott developing those, you know, fielding skills by actually playing in left field, whereas Ramon Reyes not very good at all in this spring training. Only has a 603 OPS, coming off 850 OPS last year though, so I'm hoping we get a little bit more of that. Should hit both lefties and righties really well, but especially righties, so hopefully this spring training was more of an anomaly and not a sign of things to come. And then Herman Marquez was the, you know, quote-unquote big-time pitcher that we signed. He's only a 77 overall, so it's not like we signed a superstar by any means, but he will be a core piece of our rotation. Going to be pitching in that third spot in the rotation. And this spring training, I think he certainly showed flashes of what he could be for us. Wasn't uber consistent, didn't have, you know, 3 great performances. We watched 3 of his starts in spring training, but strikeout potential is really nice. Saw several of those. He has the most gas on his fastball of kind of our unofficial big 3. It's not the most scary big 3 you'll ever see, but kind of the 3 actual starting level pitchers as our 4th and 5th spot. We're going to be pretty weak this year, but this Cincinnati Reds game was probably his worst performance, as you'll continue to see those numbers creep up, as now it's at 5 here through 3 innings. But his numbers in this franchise in the first 2 years with Colorado haven't exactly been good, but decided to take a swing at him, as, you know, pitching in Coors Field is quite difficult. And now we see him playing against his Rockies, his former team, here in his 3rd start of spring training. But I think he's definitely kind of has potential to be a boom or bust guy, just because he does have some good stuff, but some of his per-9s aren't in the greatest of spots. And so somebody that, like, when I signed him in the offseason, I was kind of hoping he was going to be our 4th guy. But a lot of the offers that we had on another starting level pitcher just didn't work out. So he's going to be the 3rd guy. And it's kind of risky, but I'm hoping it works out for us, because he was fun to pitch with, I would say. in these 3 starts that we had with him, and I'm excited. He definitely has room to grow. I believe he's 30, he's 29 or 30, I can't remember. Maybe even 31, but still has beat potential, so has room to grow. Hopefully he can do that here now that he's away from the hardest, field to pitch in baseball over in Colorado with that elevation. So hoping for better stats. He's been pitching in like the 4s in the ERAs. If we can get that down into the 3s, that would be sick. His ERA though in spring training wasn't incredible, but I think he just had a bad game in the game that we didn't play. Ended up going 11-16 here in spring training. Some guys that we weren't paying attention to in terms of getting clips, but had good spring trainings. Shayling Lears, 850 OPS, 324 average. He was really good. Was only asked to hit against lefties. Same with Aaron Sabato, I'm going to say. Hit just under 300. Bobby Witt ends on a cold streak. He was on fire. He was hitting like 350 through the first half of spring training. That definitely cooled off. Ian Happ was maybe a little bit of a disappointment, but he proved last year what he can be for us, and really the year before that was Chicago, so I'm not too worried about it. Zach Geloff, not terrible OPS, but the 220 average, not great. Lawrence Butler was a disappointing for sure. A guy that's got the surprise player of the year and +5 potential last year. So hopefully this is just an anomaly and not maybe a regression year upcoming for him. Brett Martin was our best pitcher in 13 innings. Ken Waldichuk did really good as well. He will make the MLB roster this year, was in AAA last year. Gunnar Hoglund was pretty good. 0.78 whip in 19 innings was really good. Hicks, that whip is way too high. He's looking like a guy that, if he continues like he did last year, won't be on the team next year. JT Ginn is probably the most surprising guy that I'll show you in a minute. Will be making the MLB roster this year. I think at all levels he has just impressed the first 2 years. First year AA, AAA last year, and then spring training. Those are good numbers, and so he's making the MLB roster over a guy that I was assuming would make it in Kyle Muller. So pretty exciting news for him. I wish I would have gotten some player lock games in with him. I just honestly wasn't even. I thought like I had our pitchers all figured out, but decided to throw a last-minute curveball. Kyle Muller will be at AAA once again, be our ace there. And then JT Ginn, I think he's earned a shot to either be long reliever or maybe even get that 5th spot in the rotation. I ended up giving him that 5th spot in the rotation just so that we could have a lefty and a righty in our long relief in Waldichuk and Jordan Hicks. And so that's the state of our starting pitching. Relieving pitchers here. No real surprise here. I just had to make one quick change, but the relieving pitcher situation is pretty much just descending by overall for the most part. No surprise in the delegations there. And then Oviedo has to be on our MLB roster as he was a Rule 5 pick. Gilberto will be our closer for AA to start off. Jake Rogers ends up going down to AAA. I honestly thought Tyler Soderstrom was going to start the year at AAA, but he just hits too well in spring training for me to send him down. Kevin Smith, hopefully he clears waivers so he can be on our AAA squad. I don't know if he will though, honestly. I would guess not. No real surprises elsewhere. Boyce McDermott, I thought I had a pretty good chance of making the opening day roster as his hitting stats are already in a pretty good spot. I thought maybe he could spend some time in the minors to develop some plate vision and discipline maybe, as they're in good spots, but maybe not great spots. We'll start our season against the Marlins, and in terms of scouting contracts, I will be keeping the same 3 scouts as last year. I thought we killed it with scouting last year. Had a lot of players that I thought were worth drafting, but that's all I have for this episode. I will be back soon with another, and I will see you then.